What's up, guys? It's your
It's your boys.
Talking XP here with some slamming awesome content and
Coming in hot on the waves,
hey.
the dot waves.
Hi. All right. Well, we're here to talk about games, movies, and D&D. So let's get into it. I'm Jonny, and we have Ryan. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Right on. Zach, you seem like you wanted to jump in there. How you doing?
Just saying, I'm just one of the boys. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yep.
everyone.
And Daniel, how you been?
Doing good. Been
Yeah.
busy, but doing good.
Yep. All right. Well, with our schedule, we are streaming a lot more often now. If you check out our Twitch channel, we are streaming every Wednesday night and Friday midday, and then we are releasing our podcast every third Tuesday of each month. And currently we're playing Knights of the Old Republic on our Twitch, so it's a lot of fun. But as far as this month, we have our one shot of the month, which we will be playing Heroes of Tara on July 26th at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. So go ahead and check us out then. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a new DM coming on, so it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, should be interesting.
That'd be cool.
We have a Discord. If you want to check out our Discord and join our growing community, go ahead and find the link in our description. And we also have a Patreon and a Ko-Fi, I think is what we decided on. We have 4 recurring patrons, Steven, Kristen, Jack, and Heather. Thank you all so much for your support. And this is Zach's idea. We have a email account for your questions. If you have anything that you want to ask us or any 1 minute one-shot solutions that you guys want to throw in there, we would love to hear from you. Go ahead and send us an email at asktalkingxp@gmail.com. So yeah, we look forward to hearing from y'all. And our last announcement of the night or day, morning, because we're recording it at night, but you guys
or whenever you're listening to, whenever you happen to be tuning in.
Yeah, our last announcement of the episode, the decasode, if you will, is that we will be doing Curse of Strahd as the campaign on our Twitch, streaming it, and we're going to be starting on August 2nd, the official start date of that campaign. We're going to be playing at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time and running however long each session goes, but we're pretty excited about it, and you should be too, because it's going to be really fun.
It's going to be great. So excited.
Yeah. So with that out of the way, let's talk about our sponsors that we have. First up, Phineas Coffee. Very good stuff. I don't know if you guys drink coffee, but I do, and I bought their Champions blend, and
that sounds cool.
It was pretty good. Yeah, it's coffee for gamers. It's
hell yeah,
good. Yeah, it's like, good quality coffee grounds, and you can even put, if you want them, whole bean or ground fine or ground light or ground medium wise for French press and different coffee makers and stuff like that. So it's really good.
Cool.
It's
I don't
really
know
good.
the difference between all those things because I don't drink coffee, but if I did, I would drink this coffee. So there's that. So think about that, listeners.
So yeah, go ahead and check it out. Yeah, we'll have a link in our description, and you can also use the code TalkingXP to save 10% on your purchases. So yeah, if you want to support our show, go check them out. And the second one is going to be Skull Splitter Dice that
I can get it. I have a little thing all put together for it from the one shot.
Sure. Let's hear
Skull Splitter Dice has something for every adventurer. The dice that you use can be the difference between life or death, quite literally in D&D. They have over 15 different styles of metal dice and a variety of class-based cases as well. They also have all sorts of different gaming accessories, I think they have dice trays, I think we discovered last time. I think they even had dice towers, I believe. They had a skull mug, which looked pretty cool. But their
filled
products...
with dice.
Yeah, their products are perfect for Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, and any other TTRPG out there. And they add new sets that are fairly, regularly added and updated. Last month, they added a class-based set called Warrior's Might, Light of the Faithful, Song Shards, and Force Familiar, which are all themed, colored dice that had a little things inside of it, like in the center of the mold, which is pretty cool. And also, they just released halfway through last month a new metal D100, like a full-on 100-sided dice, which is crazy.
I've seen that thing. It's
like
wild.
A big golf ball.
It's like an orb.
But you can be the envy of your party and get yours while supplies last by using our affiliate link, which you can find in our description of this video if you're watching on YouTube, or in the description of the podcast if you're streaming it somewhere else. But Skull Splitter Dice. You should check them out.
Sweet. So, with that aside, let's talk about some games and movies and other stuff.
Like all that good
First
stuff.
off, being a non-spoilery discussion of Loki and Black Widow. Let's start with Loki
I
first.
was gonna say at the same time.
What do you guys?
like,
No, what do you guys think of Loki so far? Non-spoilers.
I think it's quite good. I really enjoy it.
It was the one I was most excited for, and it is, in my opinion, best of the ones that have come out.
Interesting.
I think I would agree with
Okay.
that. Yeah, I think it's.
I would also agree with that, Daniel. See, for me, I was most excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. WandaVision took me by surprise. Not by like a huge surprise. I mean, Marvel does stuff well typically. But I have found myself enjoying Loki the most out of all of them.
I think all the characters in Loki are what makes it so great. I think that Captain America Winter Soldier, there's not very many new characters that get introduced, and Loki has so many new characters that are so like
a
fleshed
lot of
out
fun,
and
like
awesome.
new
Right. Like
set
Owen Wilson is in
pieces
there.
and yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I think that with that, I think that I don't like the story as I don't like some of the decisions that they made as much as I do with the other two series. But at the same time, I mean, all of Marvel is at least good. So you're never going to have a bad experience, I say. Now, there are some that have different opinions. But
I would also agree with that as well, because I think
I
we
would
talked
agree.
about it last week after one of the last couple episodes. Like, their writing decision was like, it was very clear to push the story forward, and it was a stupid
Right.
decision, but
people have plot
armor.
armor, people have plot speed, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's good. It's good. It's not great. It's good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Some parts are great, and some parts
no,
are
100%.
good because they have to. Like, it can't all be great because it's a TV show. You know what I'm saying? But like what you're saying, like, it not only does it have all these new characters and cool stuff, like it's got all these wacky, wild set pieces and like all this crazy shit's happening. Like I feel like WandaVision wasn't by the books generic, but it was like in the town and kind of centered there. And then Falcon and Winter Soldier is just kind of like typical like spy movie aesthetic, like it's pretty grounded, you know what I mean? But like this one's going all over the universe and through time and all that stuff, and I really enjoy that aspect of just seeing all the whatever they can come up with
See,
throughout the Marvel
Sabrina,
universe.
we'll talk about it in our spoiler episode, which you can check out at one of our other episode links, either on any one of our podcast links or YouTube. But the non-spoiler version of this, one of the things that happened in a recent episode, Sabrina can confirm this, that I got really angry, and then I was like, oh, now I don't care about the show. And then the post-credit scene that they had after it was like, okay, I guess. But like, so they did a good job of making you feel like some stuff about it, but like also at the same time, that was also the same
they pulled
instance.
you back in.
I mean, they did, but it was also the same instance that I was talking about earlier with Jonny, about how it's like, okay, that was a stupid decision. Like, oh my god, like what? Yeah.
I don't know what you mean, but we'll talk about it in spoilers.
Check out our spoiler one.
I think that, and I think it's pretty much, I would go as far as to say I think it's almost perfect. I think that all three of the shows have been genre explorations. Science fiction is one of my personal favorites. I like that they kind of lean a little bit more into that side of a thing with this sort of with this show. And I also think that now that it's the third one that's come out, my expectations about what the shows are really trying to do, and that like the problem with all the shows that we've watched up to this point is that we've gone in and we really hope that they're gonna like groundbreakingly change or take a step towards like the next Marvel thing, and we've always been a little bit disappointed that it either doesn't happen or it doesn't happen exactly the way that we think. And now that I've kind of reset that expectation, and I really just look at it as it's the fun Loki show. It's about Loki, and it may or may not have any greater meaning outside of the character of Loki in this particular show, but I'm loving it.
Yeah. Okay, so what I said before, it's just decisions of like, I guess, characters, like written in decisions that I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that, but the overall story of Loki is awesome. I love it. It is amazing. So yes, the sci-fi part, 100% I agree. It is a great story. There's just little details that I'm like, kind of, makes me angry, or it's like, I wouldn't agree with that. It is what it is. Every show has that.
Of course.
Curious.
So.
There are movies that have that too.
Of course. Speaking of movies and special agent movies, Black Widow. Did everybody see that?
We all saw it, I believe.
I saw it, yeah.
I thought it was really good. I think that Ryan and I were talking a little bit earlier about release date, where this totally should have been released after Civil War. That's 100%. Yeah, it should have been.
That was what I was saying, right after as I came out. Before I went in and after I came out of the theater, I was like, this is a weird time to put this out.
Hell, even if it came out last year when it was supposed to, it would have been that much better.
A little bit better.
I mean, it still would have had the same things it suffered from, but it wasn't... What I told Jonny a few days ago after I watched it was a fine movie. It wasn't bad. I mean, Marvel movies typically aren't. Like, the only one that I would consider bad would be Iron Man 2, and that's mainly because of the ending.
Yeah.
Disagree, but okay.
But it's only because of the ending of Iron Man 2. That's all. It's just anticlimactic. I know I like it too. It's anticlimactic. The entire final act suffers.
Fair. All right, that's fine.
And Black Widow, I mean, it's a straight up action film from beginning to end, which is fine. But there's no stakes. I don't think it's a spoiler at this point to say that Black Widow dies.
Okay, so we can talk about it's really difficult to get invested in a character you know is not going to get murdered in this movie, like 100%, and so that kind of took me out of it.
Right, and I think that just talks to the order of when it was released. I mean, they messed up with that. The movie itself, I could have definitely been like hanging on from like how it was going. Like, there were some definite parts where I was like, holy wow, this is close. But I mean, obviously, that she's gonna live.
It actually, I feel similar to this movie the way you guys feel about Loki, and I really can't talk about my major problems with this movie until we get into spoilers. I came out of it being like, yeah, like you said, Marvel is good. It's a good movie. I came out of it like, yeah, that was good. And then I'm thinking about it all day to day, and I'm just like, that was, and I'm like thinking about things, and the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, maybe I don't like this movie as much, and it's starting to go down.
I would love to hear what you want to say.
And there's some stuff I got to talk about, and I'm just like, just little things where you can't let go, and it just gnaws at you until you're like, I don't know about this one.
I mean, I think that the best parts of this movie are when it's not being a superhero movie.
Oh, 100%.
That's fair.
I think I think the acting's pretty good. I like the characters. I like the story that they're trying to tell. And because of the fact that we know Endgame comes afterwards and everything else, I don't really care about the superhero part, but I really am interested in the character background and that stuff.
As much as this movie is more or less unnecessary, I love to see ScarJo. I'm a big fan. I know she listens to the podcast. I'm always happy to see her on the big screen.
We'll have you on here if you ever want to come on.
Black Widow's a great character.
You're always invited.
I've always enjoyed her. Don't have a problem with that. It's good to see her on screen. Go ahead, Ryan.
See, I was gonna say exactly what Daniel said. The best parts of this movie is the cast. The cast is solid in the roles that they play.
For sure.
The script is fine. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's unfortunate like I said, because of the timing, because as we've already said it enough times, but regardless, the cast was the only thing I was gonna really say was that the cast was phenomenal. I loved Yelena, and I loved, Natasha, and the whole family dynamic was
sister
great.
dynamic works really well.
Yeah.
They're super funny together. Florence Pugh is great. Pretty sure it's Pugh, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she's great. Love to see it.
Sweet.
More on
if
that
you wanna
later.
hear more.
Tune into our spoiler cast on why Zach has problems with this movie.
The one final thing I'll say before we move on from the non-spoilers, the first scene, the entire opening, best part of the movie. I think that's the best part of the movie. That montage is so well done.
It's I don't know if I would say it's in the best 10 minutes of the movie for sure. Like the best 10 minutes of that movie definitely include the first few minutes. There's other parts that I love just as much, but you are absolutely correct.
I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, if I'm being honest.
Okay, maybe as a filmmaking standpoint, I think that opening scene was the best.
Sure. Yeah.
Filmmaking part of it.
Totally. I agree. I'm with you.
You're gonna have to explain this to me.
If you want to hear the best part of Black Widow, check out our spoiler episode.
And the worst parts.
And the worst part, of course. 5 things good and bad about Black Widow.
If you want to hear the CinemaSins video podcast on Black Widow, tune in. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. All right. Well, now that we got that over with, let's talk about some Sea of Thieves. We got the Pirates of the Caribbean update that just came out, and oh my god, is it amazing. It is so cool. Like, they put a lot of work into it, and you could tell that they cared a lot about what they released. It was super, and it was free. Well, I mean,
That's
like, you have to buy
rad.
Sea of Thieves, but like, it's a free update, and it's awesome.
Which is their biggest update yet, too.
Yeah. It's got everything that you want. I mean, you got puzzles and like different platforming that you can do. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So that's always good when like a game gets a big free update. Everybody loves that. Good stuff. So like, my question is, Jack Sparrow's up in the mix, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's up
Correct.
in there. Is he a playable character, or does he just
No.
like hang out in your crew?
NPC.
Okay, but he like gets on your boat and goes off on adventures with you, or what? What's the deal? How do we interact with the man himself?
If you want me to answer this, Jonny, I can go for it. So basically, the way it works is Sea of Thieves in general is a giant multiplayer game where when you join in with your crew, you are set into this world with, I think it's 6 other ships. So it's not a huge world, like as far as like how many players are in your server. Maybe it can range 6 to 8 regardless. When you launch a mission for the Pirates of the Caribbean story mode, because it's a story mode now rather than a
Adventure, I think.
Multiplayer like quest adventure type thing. So what happens is you trigger this event that's on this island nearby, and then you take your ship and you sail through this portal, and you get basically taken to this underworld area. And once you go into this underworld realm, you are now in your own instance away from other players. And also they make it so you can't bring any treasure with you from the overworld, basically, to make it so you can't just stash it away. Because if you had any treasure, it basically just gets left behind. Because you can't take earthly possessions with you. And it's kind of the same deal when you come out of the overworld. You can't take anything with you out. But there's also not really anything you take with you, because it's a lot more focused on puzzles and not treasure and stuff like that. But to answer your specific question about Jack Sparrow, in this own instance, I mean, we only played through the first mission, where we finally find and rescue him at the end, and he kind of just sits on your ship, and he interacts, and he kind of has his own cutscenes that he's a part of, and he's typically, like, at least in the first part, the finale of that mission, he's on the bow of your ship fighting this big monster thing, and you can't get up to that point on the ship. It doesn't let you. The game just keeps them
Just lets it play
fighting.
out.
Invisible barrier.
Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
an invisible barrier.
Okay.
And meanwhile, we are taking care of the cannons and doing other things. But I believe...
Shooting the Flying Dutchman.
Cool.
Yeah, I believe farther in, he does start acting and activating the cannons for you as well. during certain missions.
So like he hangs out with you and is on your crew, but only in this like specific story mission area.
Correct.
Not like up in the overworld. I guess that makes sense because then you'd have like 6 Jack Sparrows running around fighting each other, which I think would be fun, but they probably don't want to do.
I mean, you could still do that in a way, because they do have like the Jack Sparrow costume you can purchase and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So we get a crew of Jack Sparrows, and then Weed Master 420's over on his boat with 4 Jack Sparrows. And have a big
And we
fight.
fight. Yeah.
Epic.
Sounds like fun.
Whoever wins is the actual captain of the Black Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
The funniest thing, if they also have skin for your ship to make it look like the Black Pearl, which is cool. But one of the funny things when this was about to be released, people were making a bunch of memes about everybody going to be dressed as Jack Sparrow, and they did the Spider-Man meme of everybody pointing at each other with the Jack Sparrow
Nice.
costumes.
That's exactly what I'm
That's
thinking
so
of.
funny.
Just on pirate ships.
But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
no, it was
But yeah,
really
That's
fun,
very
though.
good.
It was a lot of fun. The first one that we did was super cool, filled with puzzles. We totally overlooked one of them and
Spent, like,
spent
30
way
minutes.
too much time on it. But and in the
Feel like
end,
I
it
might
was
have
just
heard about
like,
this.
that was awesome. And we want to go back and do it again because we missed one specific piece that like we totally could have gotten. It just, we did it out of order and then
It
we,
fucks everything
like
up
we
after you
want
do
to
it
play
out
it
of
again.
order.
We
Like
should do that on
I mean,
stream. I would. I'd play
yeah,
that
I
on
mean,
stream.
we'll do the first one again. That way you can be included, and then we can actually do it right because, yeah, we did it. But
yeah, I don't know.
anyways,
yeah. If we have plans for this Friday, but we could always try it then.
Yeah, the
give it a
entire opening part of it is once you get into the underworld realm, you walk through the actual Pirates of the Caribbean Disney ride. I mean, there's some changes to
it
it.
was so cool.
That's pretty
which
dope.
Also,
It was sweet.
Johnny, there are sections because I think it comes in later parts that we didn't experience. That's from the Disney ride. There's still more of the Disney ride that we
That's
didn't
awesome.
experience. Because there's,
Yeah.
you know how like in the Disney ride, you sail through like the little mini town, and there's in the original there's wenches getting sold off, which has now been
Right.
removed.
Then they took it out.
But that section of the town, there is a section like that you can go through where there's
That's sweet.
stuff going on. I don't know where it is.
And
but
even on the ride, you have they added Jack Sparrow like hiding in different places. Like one of them, he's in a barrel, literally. So that'd be super funny to see like him do the emote.
And Davy Jones was in there too, right? Or am I misremembering?
Davy Jones is only a projection.
Okay,
They
right,
didn't
right, right.
actually add
Right.
him into it. There's like a mist wall that like comes down, and then they have a projection on the mist itself, and it's like a waterfall kind of look, and then he'll just like part the water, and he'll just start talking to you, and then
It's fucking
he'll
spooky.
go away.
The-
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
The
It's
other
pretty
thing about the opening of the Disney ride that you walk through every time you go through the underworld is they took the actual sounds and the music from the ride itself too, which is pretty cool.
sweet. Yeah.
But there's
And another thing that they added when they added like Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow was Captain Barbossa. So when you're going through the very beginning, the pirate ship that's attacking the fort, kind of next to the restaurant, that one is, Captain Barbossa is the one that's leading the charge in
And
shooting them.
to
and
be
stuff
clear,
like
we're
that.
talking about the actual Disney ride now, and not the game.
Yeah, I
actual
was about to
ride.
say,
Yeah,
like,
no.
what? That's so cool. Oh no, that's
I know
not.
it'd be pretty sweet to meet Captain Barbossa in the game. That'd be super.
I think
cool.
they
Maybe
have
someday.
Gibbs. Gibbs, his first mate, is
Gibbs
Sure,
is in
yeah,
there.
yeah,
the
Yeah.
game.
Gibbs is in there. I remember seeing his character, but
What about
anyways,
Jack?
everybody
Is
check
Jack
it
up in
out.
there?
We'll probably do some more streams here and there with the new update. Check
Yeah,
us out
it's only
on
supposed to
Twitch,
take you, like,
we said.
I mean, if you, I guess, speedrun it, it's only supposed to take like 30 to 45 minutes to go through the actual
Yeah, it took
part.
us like
But
2
hours,
and a
yeah.
half hours
But-
because we overlooked a bunch of stuff and we were just
Yeah.
still trying to figure out like all of
What
the
happens on
puzzles. But it
stream?
was a lot of fun.
Stream
But
It was a lot of
it's doable in 30 minutes if you just zip through it.
fun. Zip.
But
Yeah. So check it out. Next on the docket, we wanted to talk about Mugen Train. What is that?
Okay.
Which you want to take this or should I?
I'll start it. You can take it on because you're gonna know more than me at a certain point. So I'm not sure. I think we've talked about this before, but you guys don't really watch that much anime, do you? I mean, I know Zach,
Yeah.
obviously. Me and you watch
But
probably
Johnny
the
and
most out
Ryan,
of us.
Less so.
I mean, I watched a few, but it's not something that I like.
You're not
go
like
to
up
every
on the
day.
hottest
Sure.
No.
stuff.
You know, I'm
So
I'm in the same boat. I watched, a fair amount when I was younger, but not as much now.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, the anime for Demon Slayer came out, and it was just like a massive success. It won a bunch of awards. It was super popular in Japan. Then it was super popular in America, especially after it was translated.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I mean, it's like that whole, you've got the kind of charismatic protagonist who goes around slaying demons with a cool ass sword, and
He's
sweet
got his
powers.
merry band of friends
Yeah.
who go around with him.
Yeah, and it's
And
like
D&D.
it's like pretty
Kinda.
dark, like pretty serious, while also being kind of silly, and it hits a lot of different levels, and it's just really good. And so then they released this movie, which broke a lot of like records for the amount of money it made. It did huge amounts of.
I think it's actually the highest grossing film in Japan of all time.
Wow.
And I think
good
it's
for
the
them.
highest grossing anime movie of all time. I think that's
Yeah.
like pretty. That's definitely.
Yeah, like it beat Spirited Away.
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
it-
right.
it-
That's what.
wow.
It beat Spirited Away. That's
It
why it was like really
Shattered.
notable.
Like not only did it beat Spirited Away, it like knocked Spirited Away on its ass.
This is also during the pandemic, right? So
Yeah.
it's been available to watch in theaters in the US for a couple of months, but it just came out streaming. So that's when I finally had a chance to watch it, because I wasn't going to go to a theater. And it's really good. Is it as good as the show? Not quite. It's still excellent, and like the quality of the animation is off the charts. And I'd say that 75% of it, the first 75% is like excellent, like wouldn't change a thing. And the last quarter of it is kind of like, yeah, okay. I mean, I see what you're doing, but it lost me a little bit. But it's the second season of the show is going to come out, I think probably in the beginning of next year, and it's going to be really good. And it was a good movie. What do you think? What did you think, Zach?
I loved it from beginning to end. Like I loved the show already. We had to wait for a while, and this movie was incredible. I actually did manage to see it in the theater. I got that 5G shot, so I was able to go in there and
Oh,
like,
nice.
seeing it
Are
on
you
the
a robot?
big. I'm kind of getting there. I do put off like a signal, so
Beep, beep,
pretty
boop.
cool. But seeing it on the big screen was great. The animation's fantastic. It's got that good movie budget, apart from like one or two little CG things. But I actually disagree. I think the movie like ramps up and only gets like the beginning is the weakest part, and then it just ramps up from there and gets better and better. There's crazy fight scenes. There's good jokes. Bring the whole family. It's great.
Yeah.
And watch the show. And like, to
If
your
you're a fan
point,
of the show, it's a no-brainer.
yeah, and like this, it's not typical of anime movies because it is a continuation of the story. It's like they did the first season, and then the next arc of the manga was just short enough that they said, well, fuck it, just put it all in a movie and get it over with. And that's kind of one of the big appeals of the show, is that it's really, really tight. Like they just don't sit around or have any fluff or filler. They move and get shit done, and it's really captivating. And the show is like super popular. The manga also that it's based on, not only was like this movie the highest grossing, it was like the biggest selling manga of all time. Like for the past 2 or 3 years, shattered records. Thing is, it's a fucking
It's great. I mean, yeah, you even could probably gain enjoyment out of it having never seen the
you definitely could.
anime.
You shouldn't, but you totally could.
Yeah. And there were absolutely moments that, even though they felt a little bit cheesy, like I was consumed with emotion a few times during this. Like it went all over the place. It was
It's a roller coaster in the best way. And like, I don't know if this hit you or you're gonna know what I'm talking about without spoiling it. There's a moment like it's like a really emotional moment where you're like about to tear up, and then the movie just knocks you with a joke, and it's the funniest goddamn. We'll talk about it later. I started laughing in the middle of the really emotional moment, and the movie did that on purpose. It was great. If you somehow have not like watched Demon Slayer yet, and you are on the fence, like go watch the show. Or if you really only have 2 hours to decide if you want to get in on this anime, watch the movie, and then go back and watch the show, because I guarantee you'll love it. Yes, Ryan.
Something I'm gonna say, anime related. Not related to this because I haven't seen Demon Slayer, and I've heard a couple other people talk about it too, so I might have to check it out. But
It's great. You'd like it.
something I would recommend, definitely. I don't think I've brought it up before, but Slayers. Slayers is a really great, like,
Man, that's some like
That one's
80s,
actually
OG
like D&D.
90s. Yeah,
90s
that one's very
ass
D&D like. Yeah,
anime. I haven't seen it, but that's a classic.
I
sure.
definitely enjoyed that series a lot.
I'll have to check that out. My only gripe with this Demon Slayer movie is that they don't blast the theme song at the end in the final fight. I kept
Dang.
waiting for it
The music's good, but yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
like an anime movie trope that I
Yeah.
eat up every single time, and they did not do it, and I missed that. Other than that, it's perfect.
It's gonna be in the director's cut.
I'll edit it myself if I have to.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that
too.
is that a transition? Is that a smooth transition there?
Yeah, I think so. You want to talk about some director's cuts of your own there, Daniel?
I do.
Oh, I get it.
I do. So I'm not sure if you guys saw in the news, but there was some thoughts that there was going to be an expansion announced for Ghosts of Tsushima, which, as we talked about a few times over the last year, was my like absolute favorite game of last year.
Very good.
It seemed pretty cool.
It was amazing, and it's one of my favorite games of all time from one of my favorite studios, my favorite studio. And they did announce they are releasing the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Included in this Director's Cut is some added gameplay features that people were asking for, as well as a new island to explore, a whole island. Which will have new armor and weapons and activities and all kinds of stuff. And they're also releasing one for the PS5. So there will actually be a PS5 version of Ghosts of Tsushima, which right now it's just a PS4 version, although it still runs 60 frames per second with upscaled 4K, so it still looks amazing. The main things that they're adding are a couple of other additional features that the PS5 can do, haptic feedback and stuff like that, and a couple other visual things, and performance-based things. But the controversy around it has to do with the price. So they're charging for the director's cut. So if you have the PS4 version of the game, you pay $20, you can upgrade to the director's cut, which includes the new island.
That's super fair.
And
That's like a DLC
PS5
pack.
Plus
graphic upgrade.
new stuff. No.
Okay.
If you want the PS5 version
Well, silly
of
me
the
for
director's
assuming.
cut, it's $30. So it's $10 more, but with the PS5 version, you get the added PS5 features. And there are some features that both get, but you're also getting the additional PS5 stuff. This has been rubbing some people the wrong way. They feel like it's too much to pay for what they think of. Like, if it was just a performance thing, I would get it. I think it's worthwhile because they're actually adding new features that someone had to go back to the game.
Somebody had to go and add.
Work.
Yeah.
At work, do more
Sure.
work. That's
Sure,
fair.
yeah,
And those are and they've already released a bunch of stuff for free. Legends is also getting a huge update, which we need to jump in. We're gonna play this. I'm gonna make you guys play it. It's honestly, it's so fun. Legends is getting updated for free. So yeah, some people are upset because of they're charging for this. I think it's cool. But then they announced they're doing the same thing with Death Stranding. So now people are like, oh, is this director's cut like a thing? So the director's cut for Death Stranding
I have a thought.
is you can pay $10 extra to upgrade your copy to the director's cut edition. This time, no additional charge for PS5 version. So I have a PS4 version of the game.
I would have thought that they would charge because, I mean, the walking simulator getting the haptics for walking would have been a lot.
I
felt
mean,
like they
honestly,
would have-
do you remember? I think when we were talking about it way back when, I was like, that would make it be better. Like if you could almost feel like, I can't
100%.
imagine how crazy the game's gonna feel. I'm so excited because for $10 extra, I get the added features, the improved performance, and again, new content, new story missions, new gear, new stuff to transport gear, more weapons, just a bunch more stuff for $10. And it's like, this is amazing. I'm so happy. And everyone else is grumping, but I was going to pay $60 again. I was ready to buy the game again and then knowing I only need to pay $10. I was so excited.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see what you guys thought about this concept.
So from what I've heard, like $10 like upcharge to PS5 version is not super uncommon. You know, like whether or not it's director's cut, that's typical, like getting the new shiny graphics or whatever. So it's cool that they're like putting new content out or whatever. I do think, like, I can't speak to Ghost of Tsushima. I know very little about it. I haven't actually played Death Stranding. I'm planning on locking myself up for a weekend and just knocking it out sometime. We'll see how that goes. But I do think that the Death Stranding version specifically is very silly, because Death Stranding already, as a concept, is Hideo Kojima unhinged, going off to finally make whatever game he wanted. So the idea of this being a director's cut, where he then puts in all the extra stuff that got cut, makes no sense and is very goofy. And I think it's just they're finding a new phrase for like game of the
DLC.
year or special edition. But also part of me thinks Hideo Kojima just likes movies and wants to call it the director's cut.
Okay, Ryan, I know you have something you want to say, but there's just actually Hideo Kojima released a statement like today or yesterday saying, I actually hate the term director's cut. This isn't stuff that was cut from the game. It's stuff that I wanted to add to the game. I don't like it because people are going to think that stuff wasn't, that the game that I released wasn't the game I wanted to make and that there was stuff I held back. That's not true. This is more content. He said that he would think of it more as a director plus.
Such little faith I have.
He brought more back. So I just wanted to, because he directly responded to that
he's absolutely
criticism.
right, because the implication is that this somehow was not the game you wanted to make, when it absolutely was, and that was the whole point.
Exactly.
Was
And
Sony
he said,
told
well, that's what a
him,
director's cut is.
Do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he just said, this is a game where I got more money to add more to it, so I did.
And that's fine.
It's just, it has more. It's a bonus,
5 years ago, Sony told everybody, we're letting Hideo Kojima do whatever he wants, and so it's silly to call it director's cut.
I knew that he would be peeved by me not talking about it accurately.
He does listen, so I'm sure he respects.
He'll be on here one day,
if you ever
and
wanna
he'll be like,
here.
"Thank you, Daniel, for following along." And so.
That's what's gonna happen.
Anyway, sorry, Ryan.
What I was gonna say is, I think both of those prices are pretty reasonable for what they are. But what I was gonna say though is, I think out of the four of us, I'm the only person that has not experienced the haptic controller feedback. I have no idea. I mean, I can imagine, but I just haven't had that experience.
What little gameplay I have felt, it's pretty cool.
It's so fucking good.
I always think that my trigger is stuck.
What games do you play with haptics?
Okay, well, which games is Fat 2. I played with you know what? I played Spider-Man.
Did he play any games?
That had haptics.
But like, it did?
Very few.
Okay.
Very few. Didn't really use it that much. Just with the web swinging.
I played Resident Evil 8.
That's what it was.
Bugsnax. Sure.
Yeah, the camera.
Yeah, that one had a chock full of haptics.
Yeah, that did.
And then the most recent one is
the
free
game
one
of the year
for this month.
PlayStation 5 was Bugsnax.
Oh, was it really? Well, I mean,
according to our
because
podcast, it was when it first came out.
I stand by it. It was good.
I mean, it came out at the end of the year, so
I gotta go back and finish it someday.
Same. But the most recent one is the free game that they have on this month for PlayStation Plus. Plague or something. A Plague.
Plague Tale Innocence.
Plague Tale.
A Plague Tale Innocence.
Yo, that game rips. How's that going?
I just started
Me too. Actually,
literally last night.
I literally started it last night too. Samesies.
Okay, we're gonna talk about this next podcast. Hell yeah, I love that game.
For sure, I'll finish it before then. But their right trigger R2 is to run, and when it did that, I thought that it was stuck, and I was like, I had to like stop myself. I paused the game. I looked at my controller.
Oh shit!
Like, and then I was like, and then it was like, ding. That's right, because I only have had like one other experience with Bugsnax, and then I finally, and that was like way long ago. That was like half a year ago. And so finally picking it up and actually playing like a PS5 thing that was remastered to have haptics, it was like, oh, right. Okay, cool. But like that intro, that was rough. Oh my God.
So brutal.
It was, I was like, wow, they did that.
That game is not.
I was like, there's no way they would know. Oh, they did. Okay,
Which game was this that you're talking about specifically?
Plague's Tale Innocence.
So why is running triggered the haptics specifically in this instance? Like, what makes that
So R2 was to run.
Right.
And I don't know why they did it as like a trigger kind of haptic thing, but I mean, like what else kind of haptics are you going to put as an R2?
Well, sure,
but
like
what you would do is when you press it, it would like halfway through, it would like give a resistance. So it feels like it's sticky or like stuck. That's why I was like
you can feel the cool part about the haptics, which I'm not sure if you had kind of like put together yet, is also it speeds up
step.
With the step, but it's also kind of like a heartbeat. So as she continues to run, the beating in the controller picks up speed because she's like been running for longer, which is like it's so cool. It increases the tension. It's just like it's like a really subtle like environmental like.
I only noticed it with the footsteps. I didn't know that it was like something like that. That's pretty cool.
I only played that game a while, like I don't know, 6 months to a year ago on PS4. So I can't even imagine what it is on haptic. I bet it's awesome. And there's going to be some wild shit later in the game that I think they're going to make some really cool use of. And I'm excited to hear about it.
I've probably played maybe 6 or 7 games with haptics because I've also played Ratchet and Clank, and I've been playing. The only thing I've had time to play recently is just Chivalry, which also has some haptics, and it's like I love it. And every game that has it, it makes the game better. It's absolutely something like I would. Even this is going to sound so silly. I would pay $10 just to put haptics in other games. Obviously, I'm paying for more than that, but I would just pay for that.
But that's like the big sell.
Yeah, because as someone who loves
make it like a DLC
entertainment and like the quality of performance and the interactiveness of something like a video game, immersiveness, exactly, like it just does it for me.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, well, check out PS5s if you can fucking get one.
Yeah,
my God,
it's
still so hard to get those. It's
Death Stranding later. Death Stranding is in August, and Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut I think is September, early September.
Oh, and hey, if you can't find a PS5, do not pay $900 for one on eBay. Let those people rot. It's not worth it. You'll get one later. Just chill. It's cool.
Yeah, I hope they get overstocked with PS5s that they can't sell.
Exactly. Let them sit on them.
Really hope. All right. Well, anyways, I don't really like Death Stranding too much, and that's all I'm going to say about it. We are moving on now to 1 minute one shot, where one of us will be taking on the role of the DM and creating a simple obstacle that we have to attempt to solve. For this month's segment, I will be the DM. And so, with that, I hope you're ready.
I hope so too.
This one's just a basic dungeon one, but you all come to the end of an ancient dungeon where your rogue hastily grabs the magical item without checking for traps.
Oh, here we go again.
Just then, the entire dungeon begins to collapse in on itself. Heavy boulders and rubble fall from the low ceiling, creating tense moments as you try to escape, unknowing whether you would make it out at all. You take the last turn and see the light at the end of the final tunnel. You and your 2 other party members are at the cusp of escape, just when a large boulder falls just ahead of you. You have a split-second decision. You and your other party member are able to slide underneath very quickly, but yet you turn to find your rogue had rolled a natural 1 and is now pinned under this rock with only seconds to make a snap decision. The exit just near and your friend pinned just next to you. What do you do? Oh, few constraints. Level 5, only 3 people in your party. Rogue is one of them, you are the other one, and then the other one can be whatever you want.
Question. So,
go.
Funny enough, I had a follow-up answer to Zach's number 1 one-shot of the month, which is a very similar one. So I know almost exactly what I'm going to do here in a second, but I just wanted to ask a couple clarifying things. So we were running through this tunnel. We ran, and between us, a boulder had fallen onto the rogue, basically.
A very large boulder.
Right.
Yes.
But okay, so how big is this tunnel? Because in Zach said I think it was like a 10-foot by 10-foot tunnel. That
pretty
went down?
pretty much about the same.
Okay.
Pretty much about the same.
All right.
And I don't know if it's the same in this one, but in mine, the boulder filled the gaps of the tunnel.
No, it's not. It's not the same here. It doesn't need to fill it. It's just a natural boulder. It's
How
almost like the
large?
ceiling just basically collapsed.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
basically what it
big.
is.
That's a big
Cool.
I think
boulder.
that's a better way of saying it because that big of a boulder would most likely have a
But they're
ceiling
pinned
collapse.
under rubble.
Under the
Okay.
rubble.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, there's obviously a temptation to just leave the rogue.
Of course.
So let's set
I mean,
that
they're the one
aside.
that caused it, right? Bye.
Bye.
Split second decision, huh?
So you said we're 5th
Yeah,
level,
you-
right?
5th level, 3 people in your party, including yourself.
Okay, so I already know what I'm gonna do. So this, it's awesome that you created this as the concept because I've been wanting to say like my new solution to the first one,
All right. Well, here we are.
and it works out almost exactly the same.
Here we are on the 10th.
Yeah, here we are on number 10. So because we're 5th level, we have up to 3rd level spell slots, right?
Correct.
You know who I am. I'm gonna be a wizard, as always.
Of course.
And I'm not gonna be just any wizard. I'm gonna be a special wizard. I'm gonna be a graviturgy wizard. But specifically, here's what I'm gonna do, because I believe, is it an action to use the half?
Yes.
Okay. That's fine. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Because
Adjust density for all of our
right,
listeners.
right. For adjust density,
good
basically
spell.
halves the weight of something. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cast a 2nd level spell as my first action, and that's gonna be enlarge reduce. So I'm gonna reduce this boulder in half.
So quick. I mean, we changed it up because it is now like ceiling caved in.
Well, it could be like a big piece of ceiling.
So like there is a large boulder, but like there's also like other rubble included in here.
It could be like one big piece of ceiling that fell on the road.
Sure. We'll go with that. That's fine. That is what I said in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So it's one big piece. It's like a flat stone then.
And then there's like
Still applies.
other rubble in there, but it's mainly the big one. Yeah.
All right,
So
okay,
you're
well,
gonna reduce the size of
I'll
this one.
reduce the size of the big one, which probably will collapse more down on it.
Sure.
If that is the situation that we're dealing with, if there is the rubble is completely collapsing down on us, is the rogue to a place where you can touch them, like one
yeah.
piece of them?
Yeah, you would very easily see it's like half the torso,
imagining, like, the
half
arms
the torso
sticking out,
down. Yeah, the arms are sticking out, and they're asking for help. Like, help me! I didn't mean to do that.
Okay,
I'm
then I'm gonna
sorry."
steal maybe Daniel's answer. Then I'm gonna grab them and do thunder step and just zip.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that was
Right
your
on.
answer, Daniel.
No,
or not,
I
but
mean
okay.
that was definitely one way I was thinking about going with it, but no, that's
Thunderstep. I like it.
a good
But
answer.
a good one.
If we were doing Zax, I would do enlarge, reduce the boulder, just step out of the way. Like
That's pretty good.
that would be
Thunder
a
step?
solution to that.
That comes in handy. That's a great way to use it.
And if I had time to, I would.
And what it does, thunder damage.
it does thunder damage. It does 3d10.
Oh man, I would have to have the third party member redo their deck save then because
Does
we'll have you roll their deck save. We'll see how that goes.
does the caved-in roof count as loose earth?
I would say yes.
Okay. In that case, here's what I'm gonna do. In my party, so we've got the rogue trapped under the
Of course.
earth. We're also gonna have a druid, and we are going to have a paladin. The paladin is going to use, let's say, like a thunderous smite. Something like that, something big and powerful. He's gonna bring his weapon down. He's gonna attempt to, reduce any large boulders. Just kind of like
Break
help
it down.
break it down, loosen everything up a little bit, and then my druid's gonna use mold earth, which you can have 2 instances of active at the same time. So we'll cast it twice. We'll move approximately 10 square feet of loose earth, free the rogue, get the fuck out of there.
All right. I'll have to look up the mold earth spell just to read the text, but that sounds like a pretty good way to do it. I mean, you're making even more loose earth by doing the thunderous smite, but
Yeah.
I like that. All right.
But I
Zach?
figure if there's something too big that wouldn't count, just in case.
Yeah. Okay. I have one that I'm not sure if you're gonna let me do, so I'm trying to come up with a backup just in case.
Let's hear the first one.
Okay, would you let me cast Featherfall on the rubble?
No, yeah, it's after the fact. Yeah.
It's after the fact? Okay.
Also, I think it specifies creatures.
Creatures, yeah.
Well, that's
That'd be pretty cool, though.
Okay. No, because it's still after the fact. I was gonna pull some shit, but that's fine. Give me a sec. Okay. Would you allow me a magic item?
Maybe.
If I have a portable hole that I can kind of scoot under his torso so it's like falls in, right? And then as the rogue falls into the hole, we grab the legs, pull it out.
Why not? That's chaotic, and I love it.
I don't understand how this avoids the falling ceiling.
But then,
No,
but
No,
then
like
yeah,
it's already under the ceiling, right? So then I just kind of scoot the hole like underneath the rogue, and the rogue falls in.
yeah, but you
and
have
then
all the
as-
rocks
and
above
where
them
does the
too that are going to
ceiling
start
go?
falling.
Yeah.
The
Well,
rocks are
the
going to fall.
ceiling, we're talking
Well-
about one big piece of ceiling, which would be
All right.
bigger than the hole. I'm really struggling here. You got to give this.
No,
to
no,
me.
no, no. All I want you to do is I want you to roll
I love okay.
a
This is gonna go badly. You want me to roll a catch the rogue check?
Sleight of hand.
basically, yeah. It's either
Sure.
no, I think just a straight dexterity save.
Okay.
We'll even say.
How's this?
I'm
Cast
ready.
Featherfall on the rogue, then put them in the hole so they go slower, and I have a better chance of catching them and pulling them out. And they're
You have
lighter.
two people,
from
so
the
throwing down
Featherfall.
the portable hole and casting Featherfall.
Yep.
All right, the DC
Combining
is
my ideas.
definitely lower because
Hell
the DC
yeah, it
was,
is.
The DC
Let's
was
go.
pretty fucking high. Let's be real.
I rolled a 17.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
It's a great plan.
It
I
works.
never doubted it for a second.
So your other party member grabs out the portable hole like you just had the exact same idea at the same time,
We've done
throws
this
it
before.
underneath, and you see the rogue is like, whoa, 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 and starts to fall into the hole just as the entire ceiling begins to collapse into the hole with him. And you reach out your hand, grabbing onto him and pull him out just as the rest of the
I cast
rubble
Featherfall, like
jumps-
make him go
yeah.
slow and light, and I just rip him
of course. And
out. And it's really cool.
since the rogue is super light, you pull him out
Yeah.
and
Fling him outside the
you guys
door.
are good. Yeah, okay.
Safe.
And about the portable hole, though, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff falling into it. I don't know if you can close it in time. Might have to go back for it, but
Yeah, it's not a big deal
save
right
the
now.
rogue.
Yeah.
Save the rogue. All right, I like that.
So I have one
Ryan.
amendment for mine.
All right.
The two different things. Like I was already thinking about one of them. I just didn't say it to begin with. The other person was going to be a barbarian. My initial idea of the enlarged reduce because he was going to rage and then he was going to, basically try to move the smaller thing off of him. So that was already one of the ideas I had. So I just want to make sure I clarified that. So the other one's a barbarian. So the other thing I was going to amend was I'd hold my action until that barbarian at least moved its movement away. So if that lowers the DC at all for him doing the dex save. And additionally, as a barbarian, luckily he gets danger sense as well, which is an advantage.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
Just those are the two things I wanted to put out there.
Absolutely.
For the situation.
All right. Barbarian runs away. DC is a little bit lower as the thunder echoes through this tunnel and leaves the exit. The barbarian is still just about to make it there and begins to feel the rest of the tunnel collapsing in right behind them. Roll a dex save for them.
Okay. Does he
They try
get
to leap
advantage
out.
from
Yes.
traps? Okay.
Does.
So I got my 2d20.
All right.
Fuck.
So,
No.
and
got
it
my
exited.
2d20.
Well done.
5 was the first one, so not very good.
okay.
Not great.
Shit, I exited out again.
Did it again.
Okay.
Nat 20 on the second one, though.
Oh,
There you
right.
go.
Well, there you go. All right. The
He
barbarian.
fucking surfs on the thunder step out of there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Tries to take a leap and one of the boulders falls and then rolls at such a high speed that
Just on top
goes
of it, running.
directly under the feet and
He's
just
hard.
gets rocketed out of the tunnel and is currently alive. So, with the mold earth, you can have 2 instances, but you have to cast it twice in order
Right.
to do that. You have enough
Yeah.
for one. However, within a 5-foot cube, you can manipulate it in order to instantaneously evacuate it, move it along the ground, or deposit it up to 5 feet away.
Yes. 5 foot square.
With-
That's a lot of space.
That's a human-sized space.
The only thing that I have to say is that the boulder is bigger. So, with that, it all depends on how well the paladin can break this boulder up.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
So
yeah, that
I
makes
would
sense to
like
me.
an attack roll for the paladin
Yeah.
on the boulder.
Yeah, very good. Okay.
And hell, if you have the damage, go ahead and roll it. I think it's another D6 or something like that, or is it a D8 on top of the already probably D8?
I got a 17.
Okay, definitely hits a non-moving boulder.
I mean, I figure if I've got 3rd level spell slots, we're probably gonna go all out. We're gonna use a 3rd level Divine Smite.
Okay.
Is it D8 or is it D6?
Can you do a Divine Smite on top of a regular smite?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I would imagine so.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did that all the time.
Oh
yeah.
Jeez, yeah. No,
yeah.
you're
So
right.
we'll stack those.
Okay. Okay.
So what's Divine? Is Divine Smite? Are those D6s? Would that be 4d6?
It's a 2d8.
So you get 2d8, and then you get. Well, as a 5th level paladin, you would only have level 2, so you would have another 2d8 on top. No, another d8 on top of that. So that's 3d8.
Gotcha.
And then you get an extra 2d6.
Okay,
of
3d8,
thunder
2d6. Okay.
Email asktalkingxp@gmail.com with how you think this damage should be rolled out.
As you expend your last spell
so-
slots, little did you know there was one final encounter hanging right outside the
Oh
town.
God.
It's the rock monster.
So 3d8s, 2d6. That's what we said.
3d8s, 2d6.
Okay,
Actually,
I rolled
4d8s because it's a d8 with your weapon damage.
Cool.
48.
I
2d6.
rolled an 8, 5, 3, 2, 6, and 5. Really
That's
good rolls.
that's
on
a
the
really
6 and,
good-
The 6 and 5
All right,
were really
yeah, I mean,
good.
for that, definitely, I would say that you were able to break up that and
29
make
damage.
a nice 5-foot cube just in time for you to lift the rocks up, and the rogue, taking advantage of that time, leaps out of there, and you all
Scurries
take
out.
off towards the exit of the tunnel.
Victory.
That is
It's a
that.
clean getaway on all accounts.
I
Good job,
do
friends.
want to say that it is also thunder damage, and I did make Ryan do a separate dexterity saving throw. However, you rolled pretty good on the damage. I'm just gonna give it to you because
Thanks. Appreciate that.
we're not gonna roll twice. But yeah, that was awesome.
That was good.
If you have
job.
any other ways
have-
that you would have
if you have
solved this or
suggestions,
anything like that, yeah,
if
send
you
us
have
an
your
email.
prompts or your solutions, email us.
Or
Let
if
us
you're
know.
looking at this after we have released it a second time, put it in the comments. Or if you're just listening to it now, put it in the comments anyways.
Comment it,
We
email
would
it.
love to hear what you would
We'll see
like
it.
to do in this situation. So,
We sure would.
We love that shit.
all right. Well, with that out of the way, let's talk about some D&D stuff.
Yeah, what's up?
One of the things that we were actually going to try and talk about last episode, but we didn't get to it. Creative initiatives. Instead of the regular roll a d20, add your initiative bonus, there are others that are pretty interesting and make it more of a timeline than a
what you're
list
talking
in
about.
order. I know that when we were playing for a while, I think it was Mike Merles came out with his own
There was some
type of initiative
different
that
set we were
it was-
doing.
there was a lot of differences in how you would state what your action is at the very beginning of the initiative round, and then you would roll based off of what your actions were, and each different types of actions had different types of dice. So if you had to cast a spell, depending on what level of spell, it would be a higher
Yeah, like ostensibly
cool.
stuff that takes longer would be a higher die, so you would roll
Right.
higher.
or
and-
you would roll more die, like
Exactly.
a second level spell. I think all spells were like a d6, and then if it was a cantrip, it was like a d4 or something like that. And then if it was first level, 1d6. If it was second level, 2d6, and there so forth. So, wow, I missed that. What? So on and so forth. There we go. My
There you
God.
go. You got
You'd
there.
think,
My brain
you'd think
just,
it'd
like,
be the opposite,
pooped.
though. You'd think that a cantrip would be faster to cast.
Well, yeah, a d4.
Oh,
So it's a d4 and
so
then a
whoever has
d6
the
for
lowest goes first.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
you
that's
would,
an easy
so
way
you
to
would
do it.
you would all make your actions at the very beginning, and then you would then roll your dice, and whoever has the lowest goes first. That is super awesome in theory. When we did it, though, it took forever.
I was gonna say we tried this for like 2-3 weeks, and I really, really did not enjoy it for a
Because-
lot of reasons that I
Yeah.
want to talk about.
One of the main reasons why I didn't like it as a DM was because I had to make those decisions for all of the monsters
all of your
too.
creatures.
Which, as one person, isn't as bad as making a decision for, or them making decisions because there's so many of them and one of me, and that's fine. But at the same time, like I would have to be like, okay, this person is probably going to do this and the blah, 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 blah. Instead of like, all right, this has already happened. What would I do now? It's just, I have to predict on my end. And yes, it's cool, but like it takes so
It's
much
cool in theory.
brain
It takes
power
forever,
and
but
time.
Also,
And
like
combat already takes so
it
long.
takes so long, and you don't need extra steps. But also, like,
No.
depending on the character you're playing, you're either gonna be like always going first or always going last, and that kind of sucks when you have like a complicated character who's always getting shunted to the back of initiative, versus like somebody who just swings a sword and that's their turn, so they're, get it out of the other way. But like, the main reason I really didn't like it is that you announce what you're doing right at the beginning. Whereas like in combat, turn to turn, the game state changes a lot. And pieces move around, things die. You come up with new strategies as the initiative rotates. And so by the time it gets to you, you're like, well, what is on the board right now? What can I do? Right, like maybe I need to change up what I was about to do, or I have this cool new idea. I really didn't like how rigid it was with your actions.
Right. And I think one of the things that it was trying to do is this is all happening at the same time. Even the actual initiative order is happening within the same 6 seconds as the wizard, like 4 creatures ago that just went. But with that being said, that is one of the cool things about this is that you all happen at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It is also one of the worst parts about it because you have to announce what you're doing. And if you don't want to do that anymore, you have to forego your entire action.
Forfeit the whole turn and have to try again next time.
If you wanted to move, that was another dice that you had to add.
Exactly.
So if you didn't predict that you were gonna move during that turn, like if this person did a disengage action and ran, and you said that you were just gonna swing, you wouldn't be able to run. And that was one of the weirdest parts about it, is that like, well, of course, if I saw them running, I would run after them, but you can't do that. And if you go before, then it's like, then you're definitely gone. But I mean, that's kind of the same thing with initiative anyways. But yeah, you would have to, in theory, you would have to roll and say, well, I might move, so here's my roll as well. And so that kind of...
And then you just end up getting pushed to the back, and they're already gone or whatever.
Exactly, they're already dead, and you didn't get to do anything.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. People would get kill sniped, and then you're just swinging it air. I get it's trying to be, like, more realistic, quote unquote, but it just fell apart for me, and I didn't want to,
It's a lot more like a single player experience that way. Like, because that's how you would do it if you were just, like, if you were controlling all of the characters all at one time.
There was another version of that was very similar, that basically broke up movement. Like, they did combat completely different than how 5e does it traditionally, where they broke up into phases where everybody would move and then do attacks and then do reactions, I think was maybe the last part. So it was a weird stage progression. But I remember reading somebody doing something like that. I wish I had more information about that one. But the reason why I brought this topic up to Jonny is because I saw something still similar, but different enough to be its own version of initiative. The only problem I can foresee with it also is the time, because you have to roll initiative every round. Which there's other versions of it where you do roll initiative every round, and then so that constantly changes. And this version specifically, you do roll initiative every round, but it's for a different reason. And basically the way it works is, instead of going with the fastest initiative first, you go with the slowest, as they announce their moves first before the fastest player. But and the reason for this is because the fastest player has a higher reaction time in theory. So if the slower player does something, like typically in games, what happens is the slower players, I found in a lot of times, like, oh crap, I wish this person went before me.
Right. Yeah.
And by having the fastest person have the choice to go last and not have to forego or hold their action, that's kind of the way it's supposed to balance itself out in a way, is by seeing and having a faster reaction time, you can see what the slower players are doing, and you can choose because you still go in the order of the fastest to slowest, but the slower player announces what they do.
Announces
first.
what they're doing in the very beginning. Yeah, that makes sense. So like, hey, I'm paladin that has an 8 dexterity. I'm gonna be running into Mr. Goblin right there, and I'm gonna attack him with my warhammer. And then that way the rogue is like, okay, cool. Once they get there, I'm gonna shoot them so that I get my sneak attack.
Okay. So the fast player has the choice to react if they want to.
Or would it be the reverse of that? It's I'm gonna shoot them and sneak attack them, so that way when the paladin runs up, he can do more damage. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the rogue only gets sneak attack if they have advantage or if a person is right next to them.
Right,
so they would have to wait until the paladin gets in there first.
But if the rogue is faster, he would still go first. So
correct. But he would just use his action as a reaction instead.
I copied the specific initiative now. I knew I had it saved somewhere. So in this version, this is gonna be a quote from a Facebook post. Letting my players have more freedom with their actions and movements that and rolling initiatives every round. We have 2 initiative rounds. Declaration, where they tell me what they're doing, and then they're doing the resolution where the moves actually happen. And then you declare slowest to fastest, so the faster characters can react to the slower ones. So it's similar to the very first initiative, but it's different. Also, I feel like as a DM, a way to maybe make that system work faster is you just disregard the planning part, because like it's easier that way to just not deal with that, because a DM doesn't have to declare what he's doing anyways, I feel like.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. As a DM, I wouldn't tell you what I'm doing.
Because like also like the other part,
because you guys are a team, and I mean, yes, I would be playing as a team, but like as like beasts, I wouldn't tell you what they're doing.
The part
or
that sucks,
it's a different language.
Period about initiative as a DM specifically is when you do have a lot of monsters on the field, even if they're not super hard, because then you're just playing forever by yourself, and that's the worst. Like, I hate that so much.
And then also, I hit you, you hit me. It just turns into one of those. Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah.
But there are ways to like mix up what's happening on the board and like change the game state.
Which is what I wanted to talk about next. Is how do you keep combat exciting?
I'm so smart.
Wow.
I think the biggest thing to make combat interesting, and I've tried to do it more and more, sometimes it can be really hard because combat is the same a lot, you know, which is fun. Combat's one of the parts I enjoy the most of D&D. I love the roleplay parts of it.
That's what everybody wants to do. They want to hit stuff real hard. Yeah.
Making it the same thing over and over, not be repetitive, is so difficult. But I think one of the biggest things that makes it memorable, and I think I've heard several other people say this too, but it's really the environment. And like our Harpies Bridge encounter, super memorable because it had a very unique set piece to it. It made it very specific and unique.
Check it out on our Patreon.
Yeah, check it out on our Patreon. But there's a lot of
but it's hard to put environmental stuff in everything. It's really hard.
Pieces. I think that's basically it. Like, if you can make a really but exactly like you said, Jonny. Like it's hard to always do that, because if you always do it, then they all start not becoming as special in a way too.
Yeah, finding unique environmental hazards and things like that.
Like I think it doesn't always have to be like a unique, like evil bridge or anything, but if you can have some kind of like dynamic thing happening on the map where like you force the characters to move around so they're not just standing there whacking each other, like I don't know,
like you have levitating rocks that are moving around constantly.
Or you have one of the enemies up in a tower shooting a ballista or whatever, like,
or you get flying enemies and standing enemies, and you have to be
some kind of environmental hazard to like make them move around is helpful. And yeah, it's not always easy to do, but you can get creative with it. You can do whatever you want, and you know.
Yeah, and I think that the players can be in on it too, because I think like especially if you're a spellcaster that gets the opportunity to select their spells after a long rest or something, then you can attempt to, mix it up, go with some variety. I mean, there are some spellcasters like sorcerers where you don't get the same kind of opportunities that others do, but there are lots of interesting ways that you can kind of diversify just by playing around with something different. Maybe
Yeah.
it could be environmentally kind of driven, but
Like when I play my warlock, half the time I'll Eldritch Blast the shit out of something, but most of the time I just look at my
80%.
spell list, and what was that?
80% of the time
Is
it's Eldritch
sure,
Blast.
but like I only have so many spell slots. But I'll look down at
I
my
know.
spell list and I'll okay, most of these spells don't do damage, but what can I do to just fuck up the enemy team strategically, or cause fear or darkness or something to really mix up their squad so that things change and we get an advantage
Crowd
on
control.
the field. Exactly. So you can forego damage for that kind of thing, and that helps.
I remember, just real quick, there was a stone golem encounter that we played, and the druid had casted not entangle, but growth, like something growth on some vines that were in the ceiling, and it created vines that just went all the way down to the bottom of the cavern.
I remember that.
And it made one difficult terrain. So the druid casted it directly in front of these stone golems, so they had to either go through or around, and it's a big area. So they had to go through or around, and by doing that, they had to go around that, and they couldn't do anything. And then on top of that, you guys were able to just go through it and keep it as a way of almost like a shield between you and the golems, and that was
Like a
awesome.
blockade.
An awesome player created obstacle.
yeah, I remember that one.
Sorry, Ryan.
Something I was gonna say is that was one of the things Baldur's Gate 3 does really well. Is Baldur's Gate 3 does a really good job at making really unique battle environments where you can interact with things in the environment, whether it's like a stalagmite or something that you could shoot down and crush people underneath it.
That's cool.
Which is cool, especially for a game to think of all these different things you can do.
And the 3D terrain is awesome too, because you can get the advantage shot because you're higher than them, or you get the disadvantage shot because they're higher than you are. Yeah.
But something else too, in regards to the environment again, is there's several different encounters that we've done. One of them being a more recent one where it was the beginning of our last homebrew game, where we're fighting in this big boss room that's made of this floor that is moving, and it has waves, and it has almost lair actions in a way, which is another unique way to add things, is make monsters have lair actions. Also, no, I retracted my statement. The number one thing is not necessarily the environment. The number one thing to make combat interesting is give it a purpose. If you're just fighting
That's a good point. Actually.
creatures just to fight them, in our last one shot that we did for our one shot of the month, Reign of the Necromancer, there were a lot of encounters that you had, and the purpose of them, although they could get repetitive, especially if you did all the random encounters that you're supposed to in it, is it was supposed to really wear down on you how dangerous the desert is, but at the same time, you don't want to just keep doing the encounters over and over and over and over just because it's supposed to be dangerous. You have to do other things to make things interesting.
Yeah, you have to have more of a reason.
Right.
They did. They I mean, in the writing, they added lots of other dangerous things out there. They had the high storms that could happen that affect spell casting and stuff like that. That's a cool, different type of encounter. But specifically giving combat a purpose, making it why are these monsters here? Why are you trying to get past them? That's the biggest thing, is if there's a reason that you're there. When we were looking for new cast members for our Curse of Strahd campaign, we did a test one shot to test out a couple people to basically finalize them. And in this one shot that Jonny created, he made sure we added role play in it. We added combat. We added a whole bunch of different things. That one shot was so much fun to play because Jonny set up this entire boss lair encounter thing with an elemental that he made. And we discovered the story. We found it pretty early on, and you're supposed to find the story out after the fact. And in the story, this elemental was supposed to be, in theory, causing problems for this town, when in reality, the town really started the problem itself, 300 years ago. Regardless, we circumvented the entire battle. We worked with
We basically
the elemental.
RP'd through a boss fight instead of having to fight it.
Exactly.
It was a great way to fix it. I mean, yeah, not all combat needs to be combat.
And then of course the cool thing about it too is we went back down to the town we tried to explain things. The town got angry, and so we said, screw you,
Did
and
combat
we made our own
Our
boss
combat
fight
there.
out of the town
Whoever,
mayor.
whoever's
it was
idea
funny.
that was is probably really smart and cool and good at D&D. Whoever that was.
Your idea of the
Well, I don't want to name names, but whoever it was
what
probably
it? The
really
recharging
cool and
the
good
item
and-
was a good idea. I never even thought about like something like that, but I was like, yeah, that would make sense.
But at the
Why
end of the
wouldn't they
day,
be able to
we
put some of
saved the
their-
day. We saved
Yeah.
the town, despite some of the people in the town. I mean, most of the town was probably thankful, but at least the leader was not very helpful. But at the end of the
that guy
day,
was a
everything was
jackass.
great, and we solved it in our own way, which is, of course, the magic of D&D. But
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But like you're saying, like everything had a purpose. It was all very tight, and we weren't just wailing on stuff for the sake of wail, for like we needed a fight here or
Right.
something like that. It was very well put together. So that's something to keep in mind. Is like, don't just throw in a mob because you feel like you haven't fought in a while or something.
And if you can't think of anything, God, there's so many resources out there, just like random encounters that you can look up. I mean, DM's Guild is filled with them. Or even if you don't have the money, that's totally understandable. There's a bunch of Reddit posts that you can look at for free. I mean, there's a bunch of different stuff, and hell, just steal it from people. I mean, like
Steal.
a lot
Always steal.
of encounters that we did in our homebrew game, I used from Critical Role and then like made my own twist on it.
Go listen to
So-
any D&D podcast and then change up a couple names. You got yourself an
Yeah.
encounter, baby.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
steal.
listening to Dungeons and Daddies. It's not that kind of a
It's not like that.
podcast. It's
No,
not
it's
a
fine.
BDSM podcast, but it's so fucking
That's
funny.
like their
Oh my God.
tagline, I think.
Yeah, no, it is. They like on their cover
I've
they
heard
have
ads, yeah.
Dungeons and Daddies and then asterisk not a BDSM, podcast.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty funny.
One other thing I'll say about keeping combat interesting is, I think there's three big things now. So number one is give it a purpose. Number two, I'm actually going to shift set pieces down to number three. Number two, I think now is, crap, it fucking just went out my head.
Give
So
it a
number
history.
2 is set pieces and environment hazards and all that, and number 3 is Ryan.
Yeah, number three.
Really
Okay.
important. One of the
Okay, so
one of the
there's
three
two major
foundational-
things to keep in mind.
All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. Just-
It's going to come to me. It's going to come to me.
It's going to come to you for next episode. Thanks everybody
Exactly.
for listening. We're so
tune
glad
in
to
for
have
next. Yeah, tune in next time. Where
Tune into
you'll
a
figure
spoiler
out
okay,
what number
cast
3
on
is.
Black
I got it,
Widow
I got
and
it, I got
Loki
it now.
for Ryan's third combat
Yeah,
rule.
I got it. So basically, number one, I've already said. Number two is going to be tension. If you can keep the tension up,
yeah.
that's what makes it that much more
Ooh.
engaging. Number
Make
three
a
would be
timer.
set pieces. I mean,
Give him a timer.
Made
sure,
me tense. Waiting for you to see if you could get that.
but in my
that
eyes, like
answer back.
I've had a couple instances recently that made combat very enjoyable. Actually, there's 3 combats, and it's always the ones that get the players really close to dying. And the most recent one would be our one shot of the month, where we had 2 of our players. Jonny was one of them. They were fighting 5 giant centipedes, and one of them would go down, and then at the last ditch effort, the other person would bring the other person up with either good berry or something else, and then immediately the next round they would switch places, and then the other person was a paladin, so they would use their like one of their last lay on hands, and then they just kept going up and down. And
Nothing builds tension like half your party getting knocked out.
yeah,
almost
at,
down,
at one
yeah.
point, I think 2 of the 4 people were knocked out. Zach was one of the only people left standing. It was a crazy
The
encounter.
only one that didn't go down for sure. Because I
For
think
sure.
I healed both of them. Like, I know Sabrina's character went down just as Joel's went down, and I, like, bonus action healing word her character up, and then I gave a good berry to Joel so that both of them came up in the same round.
Which
yeah, it was.
we found
it was
out
nuts.
recently in a recent interview that you can use your Find Familiar.
Oh,
Yeah. You can use their action to feed somebody a good berry.
Interesting.
which, because
That's
it's not a
smart.
spell, it's just
Yeah.
an item that you could give somebody and they can use their action in
That's a good
initiative
point.
to do that. And I was
So
like,
what you're saying?
should have done that.
What you're saying is kill your players, creates tension, and then environments are good.
See, that was going to be my other
That's
2
it.
comments I was going to talk about. I had another one where I played another one-shot, which we will be playing for Talking XP on a future one-shot of the month. I just don't know when yet. But in this one-shot, I was playing with my family. They're playing it as level 1, which is cool. You can play as level 1 or level 5. We'll be playing the level 5 version. But in the level 1 version, they're fighting this zombie zombie owlbear.
Oh lord.
And
Cool.
at one point, 2 people were down, One person almost got instant killed in one hit. But of course, you're level 1. So level 1 combat's very interesting because there's always a big possibility of dying, which can be...
You're really living on the razor's edge at level 1.
It depends on how you like playing, but I think level 1 play is so fascinating in a way just because of that. And then the other instance where it's recent too is in our other home game that we have put on hiatus, which was Tomb of Annihilation, and I killed my sister's character, where they got surrounded outside this
Bad brother.
This temple. After like going through it and going through all the traps, they are already really messed up. They came out to an ambush, and they were able to kill most of the goblins. But as they were running away, one of the goblins called out on a horn. And the part of the Tomb of Annihilation is you're in the middle of the jungle, in the middle of a really dangerous jungle where it's just filled with undead everywhere. And because they blew on the horn,
we had a second ambush.
You got a second ambush of a huge amount of skeletons and zombies coming in, and they were still at the face of the temple, but they got swarmed really fast, and my sister's character got surrounded. And Jonny was playing a grave cleric at that point, and he tried his best to save her. Oops, I just dropped the shit out of that pin. But
I tried so hard.
You tried really hard to save her, but
in the end,
there's too many zombies are going before him,
it.
and he just could not do it. And
yeah, it just wasn't possible.
That's what would have happened, and I let it happen because that's
It'd be like that sometimes.
But
sometimes
it made that combat shitty, and like a shitty feeling, but still I feel engaging,
memorable.
It's memorable,
and fun at the end. I would say, like, I mean,
good.
Fun for
maybe not for her, but
I wasn't dead. But yeah. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to our podcast. If you like what you heard, we release these every third Tuesday of each month. So if you have any ideas or comments or questions, email us at asktalkingxp.com, or you can follow us on our social media platforms at talkingxp. So make sure to level up, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.